Okay, let's dig in.
I got a cold call in the middle of service one night, someone trying to recruit me, and before I knew it, I'm on a plane going to New York. Nobu, never heard of him. De Niro, definitely heard of him.
Yeah.
New York, heard of that. For me, it's always like the food. You know, what are we going to eat in this country? You know?
That's the excitement.
And that hasn't gone away, and that's probably what's sort of inbuilt in me, the travel and the food. You can't come here for that.
Yeah.
If you're going to come to Nobu, you've got to see what it's about. And some people are really stubborn. No, I'm having this. And we were looking at, you know, tortoises walking through the restaurant, a guy coming in with birds, wild animals in the restaurant. And we were like, you know, what is this? Are we a zoo or are we a restaurant?
Is it too much?
I was starting off building an experience, an offering, and the brand follows. If it's successful, the brand becomes known.
Welcome to Dig In, a story-driven podcast that goes behind the minds of the people shaping the hospitality industry. We're uncovering the moments, mistakes, and grit that define their craft and success, along with the invaluable lessons they've learned along the way. For our second episode, we dig in with Kurt Zdesar. He led the successful expansion of Nobu in his early 20s and was the former founder of Ping Pong. He's the entrepreneur and co-founder of the growing international brand Chotto Matte. You're going to get to do the, can you do the honor?
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Kurt, welcome to Dig In. We're super happy to have you with us. Where are we?
So we're in Soho in a basement. That's a bit of a secret place. It's we call it the owner's club, but it is possible to book out and use for various activities. But Soho, Chotto Matte, been here 13 years, and this is like pretty much the latest addition to the existing operation. There's this private club.
For anyone that's not been to Chotto Matte, the space makes you feel pretty alive when you walk in. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I want to start off with your journey is super interesting, and I'd like you to take us to the beginnings of how you got into hospitality.
I've always had a fixation with good quality food. And I realized that as a young age. I was a bit of a food critic for my friends and how their parents could cook, and that would then determine who I hung out with on the weekends. And I stopped going to school around about 14 because we traveled 9 years. I went to school. You start at 5 in Australia. I stopped by 14. I'd been to 8 different schools. So they got to a point where we were moving again. I was like, I'm not going to another school. I'm just not doing it. I hated it. I hated being the only new kid in the class, always behind on the curriculum. My parents were like, okay, fine, but you have to go to work. So when I was 14, I said I was 16. I got a job in the kitchen because I would like food. And I thought, well, I'll get paid and I get to eat for free. And I learned something that I was interested in. And that's sort of where it started.
And that first job was?
It was the Riverside Racquet Club in Chelsea, which no longer exists. I think it's a Virgin Active now. And it was a pretty posh tennis club. Everyone, all the kids that were there were running around with their own little credit cards and buying and shopping and spending. That was the way that all these parents would just dump their kids over the summer holidays. But I was in the kitchens there just doing the basic stuff, you know, peeling and starting to get into the rhythm of working in a kitchen, which I really loved.
Yeah. What was it that you loved about that? Was it the camaraderie or like the
pressure? Yeah, no,
pressure?
when you're that age, there's not much camaraderie for you. But, you know, I'd learn a sauce or I'd learn a dish, and then I'd want to come home and recreate and show my family, or make it for my parents. Like, look what I learned. And I really enjoyed that side of things. That gave me great pleasure to give pleasure. And I didn't realize that was a side of the F&B or the hospitality industry. I just was looking at the cooking at first.
Yeah.
And then being able to do something. And this is to this day lives with me. I love cooking, but you have to give me feedback. My kids hate it. They go, Dad, why do you always have to ask? And if they don't give me a compliment and they just eat it, it really does my nut.
Because you want that feedback because you want to get better, right?
Yeah. I'll cook it and
go, you're like nervously like,
how was it?
Give it. Oh,
yeah,
great.
so and that sort of just continued on. So I just graduated. When I was 16, I mean, I traveled a lot, even beyond then. I moved over to Spain. When I was in Spain, I got a job in a kitchen there. It was a British pub, as you could only imagine, in the Costa del Sol. But this was before gastropubs existed.
Okay.
So we were doing sort of like classic English dishes, and I enjoyed that. And I got to work with this completely different thing. I thought maybe, I wasn't really sure where my life was heading at that time.
Because travel very much kind of is a massive theme, even in your businesses now. which we'll get to. But that's obviously where you got this travel bug and this
well, with
excitement.
travel, you see different cultures, you see architecture, all these different things. But for me, it's always like the food. What are we going to eat in this country?
That's the
And
excitement.
that hasn't gone away. And that's probably what's sort of inbuilt in me: the travel and the food. They're intimately part of who I am now.
Do you have a favorite country that you've been to that you relate to the food in that country more than others, like something that stands out, or just everything's an exploration for you?
Everything's an exploration. I do feel like some affiliation to the Latin cuisine. I just absolutely feel connected to those flavor profiles and ingredients and techniques. I love it, and hence what Chotto is doing today. But my former life before Chotto, which is still Japanese but with a very strong Peruvian influence, has always been Asian. From Hakkasan to Nobu to Ping Pong, they're all very Asian brands that I was a part of.
We were talking before we went on air, like how synonymous culturally Nobu is in the world.
Yeah.
Not just in hospitality or dining scene, but just culture.
Yeah.
Talk us through your journey.
Well, before Nobu, I'd say that was the turning point in my career because of what it became and what it meant to the world dining scene. But previous to that, I'd worked in some fine dining. I'd done a lot of fast casual, a lot of fast food. And this was like a great opportunity that just came. I got a cold call in the middle of service one night, someone trying to recruit me. And before I knew it, I'm on a plane going to New York. And, they were explaining it to me. Nobu, never heard of him. Dinero, definitely heard of him.
Yeah.
New York, heard of that. So it all sounded very appealing. And, until then, I hadn't done that much traveling, certainly not since I'd started working. So everything had sort of settled down. So this was an exciting opportunity to see a city I hadn't been to before. I'm 24. It's 1996. It's November. Yeah. And I'm set with the task of packaging Nobu. That's what I was told to do. And I was the assistant general manager to the general manager at the time. And he kind of put it on me to go and package up and bring the brand over.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Bring it back. Execute for London.
Yeah. So New York, November 96 until almost Christmas. I was there for nearly 2 months. And I literally lived in the restaurant 7 days a week. Every moment the restaurant was open, I was there for that time. I don't think I had a single day off. But I was also extremely nervous. Like, I hadn't really done anything quite of this caliber. And when I saw what Nobu was as well, they're saying to me, do you think it'll work in London? I'm like, fuck, this is going to be like a tidal wave. This is going to change the whole scene. Like, I hadn't really eaten in lots of great restaurants at that time. So I wasn't really familiar with fine dining to the degree that I perhaps have today and that I got experience and exposure to post Nobu and during the Nobu opening period. But I could tell straight away this was something else. And the day I landed, there was also this massive celebrity factor. I just happened to turn up, and I'm meeting Al Pacino, Cyndi Lauper, Andy McDowell, De Niro, all in one night. And I was there for 2 months, and I literally met anyone and everyone that was there. And I thought, well, if they're all dining like it's their canteen, when we open in London, they're going to come too. That alone is going to bring the tidal wave that I talked about in terms of recognition and coverage. And true to form, we opened. It was a very strange period because no one really knew what Japanese raw food was.
But you didn't even, you weren't an expert in sushi or raw fish. You were telling me that when you flew to New York and they put this food in front of you, like you...
Do you know what? Like, I think I'm a lucky guy. And I'm going through 3 interviews, and this guy, Nicholas Retti, was the GM of the hotel at the time. And I can't tell you, it's like, tell me about sushi. Do you eat sushi? I'm like, hated raw fish. My mother, every Friday we would have fish at home, and my mother was cooking for 8 of us. There's 6 kids and the adults, and it was a chore she really didn't enjoy. So I don't think much love or passion went into the food, which is why I was always sort of judging my friends and hanging out with them based on their food. But the fish in particular, I just couldn't do it, and the punishment for me was you're not leaving the table till the fish is eaten, or you go to bed. And that's Friday night, one TV. That's the night we watched Knight Rider and the A-Team and all those great programs. And I was missing out, because I couldn't eat fish. So get this, I'm now going to Nobu, and I'm like terrified to eat fish. I land in New York. I go straight to the restaurant with my bags. And I was determined I could sort of fudge my way around not eating raw fish. I hate to admit to it. Sorry, Nobu. And no one ever knew that about me. But they sat me at the sushi bar. So I grabbed the menu and I was like, I'll eat anything I can, but I'll just try to avoid raw fish. And they took the menu off me. Chef's going to cook for you. Impossible. I was having a heart attack. I was like, I have a high gag reflex. Anyone who knows me knows that about me. And so now I'm worried I'm going to start retching at the sushi bar. So I ordered a bottle of water, filled up this glass, and I'm like, going to wash it down like medicine. That was the plan. First thing that came out was a toro tartare with caviar, wasabi pepper sauce, still on the menu today, 37 years later or however long it is. And I was terrified. I thought, this just looks terrible. I like the raw kidney. What am I going to get? What's it going to do to me? How's this going to taste? But I put it in my mouth and wow, I got past the fear, put it in my, didn't need the water. Then the next dish, yellowtail jalapeno, still on the menu today. And then I could see the slithery sort of shine in the fish, and it looked like goldfish sliced up. And I was like, oh, how am I going to do this? Ate it. Absolutely delicious. And, now I'm sort of thinking, it's not so bad. New style sashimi of salmon came out, still on the menu today. Great signature dish. Loved it. Rock shrimp tempura, creamy spicy, black cod, the matsisa dressing, salad, sashimi salad. And I had a great meal, didn't touch the water once, and it changed everything for me.
So
I've always been open
so
to food.
much in that one experience, and you're like,
Yeah.
I've got this. Like, this is gonna be an amazing experience particularly for London, bringing that back over. We talked before, and you said that when you were doing the training for Nobu, I think it was, you had like a little tape recorder in your pocket,
right.
and you were recording everything that was happening,
Well,
and then writing it up.
Because as I was working, I couldn't be taking notes, and my memory's not the best it's never been. And as I get older, it gets worse. So I had to have a tape recorder, and those days it was the micro cassette with a cable that ran up, and it looked like I had a pen on. And I just anyone that told me anything about what Nobu was, that became fact. And I remember I sat with Nobu, and I put the tape recorder, and he goes, "Oh, can we not have that on the table?" I was like, okay. Kept it recording, just reconnected the microphone and got everything he had to say. Made the first training manual for the group.
From those notes. So you wrote those notes up, and you wrote the training manual.
Yeah, but
for
everything
London.
was gospel for me. So then we repeated even their mistakes, apparently, because when Nobu came and we were open, 97 February, we opened the 17th. I remember that date. Nobu came in, he walked in, he goes, Kurt, what are you doing? We don't do this. I was like,
You do?
You do. No, we don't. I was like, okay, I'll take it away. But you do it.
You do it, yeah.
I literally copied their mistakes.
Got it on tape.
But they didn't have a manual in those days. They sort of, Drew and Nobu came together via Robert De Niro, who was a big fan of his restaurant in La Cienega, Matsuhisa. If you study at Cornell about the hospitality industry, you'll learn about Drew. And he had like Michelin star restaurants for 30 years. So, he's a real legend in America.
A lot of great American restaurateurs have actually come through Cornell. Like Cornell does produce a lot of like great restaurateurs.
Exactly.
You came back to London with this newfound knowledge and love of raw fish, and I know from my experience, like Nobu was this kind of, you're like, same in New York, like you created it, right? It became the same thing, like, in terms of celebrity status and cultural status. How old are you now, right now?
So in 96, I was born in 72, I was 24.
24. Yeah. And you're the AGM of Nobu London at 24
Well,
years
actually,
old.
so get this. The day before we opened, I get the GM had just been dismissed. And right or wrong, I would say they made the right decision. Because but he came and he goes, "Come on, Kurt, I've just been sacked. We're going." I'm like, "Well, I'm not going anywhere." I'd been doing everything up until that point, like all the training, everything, you name it, all fell on my shoulders. And, and then the worst thing was for me would have been to have left. I saw the potential.
Can you
of this
imagine
brand.
if you'd left Nobu at that moment?
No, I don't know where I'd be today.
Where would you be
I'd
now?
still be flipping burgers somewhere. Not that that's a bad thing.
No,
in fact,
great.
I'd love to have a good burger concept. Like a lot of people who left Nobu, the first thing they do is a rip-off of Nobu, and really offended me. And I was sure not to want to ever do that.
One thing I'd love to talk to you about is ping pong.
Yeah.
You sold it at 35?
Yeah, so...
But like, tell me, where did it come from?
So I helped a friend of mine open his first fine dining restaurant. Was a guy called Alan Yao. He had a guy called
Alan Yao. I was going to say, like,
that sounded a bit dicky. It was superstar Alan Yao.
Yeah.
He'd done Wagamama. I recognized him for that, and we used to go there. I thought it was the best thing I'd ever seen. I thought it was a really brilliant concept. And he was a regular at Nobu, and we slowly got to know each other. And I saw dim sum done in a way that I'd never seen it done before. And it was one of the things that I grew up loving on a Sunday, and it was only on a Sunday. And they had one dish on the menu, which was the dim sum platter, which I think every single table ordered.
Yeah.
So, and then the cocktails were another level. And it was just for me realizing that dim sum cocktails, why can't that be a concept?
Mm-hmm. Just take us through the journey of, how you scaled ping pong. Like you started off with one site, and just take us through how that
so
comes together.
The thinking was, and this is from travel. I could go anywhere in the world and eat relatively well for about £20 in those days, but the same couldn't be said in the UK. You get a pizza at Pizza Express, and Wagamama was one of the options as well, but generally that was kind of it. But if you look at those experiences, Wagamama was a feeding station to me. There's no music in those days. There was also no desserts or cocktails. It was really just go and get fed. Service was pretty abrupt. It was one chance to order, eat your food and get out as quickly as possible. And they were turning people around, and it was a great business. No one's denying that. Or the pizza. And I just wondered why that wasn't the case in the UK. So what I had to do is sort of solve a problem. And the problem is, how do I make money and give more than you normally would get for £20? I want to give a better service standard, a better interior design, more of an experience, a better product, and I still need to make money. So the thing for me was how much we pay per square foot and how we can minimize the size of our kitchen, which dominates nearly 40-50% of any space you open. So if I can prepare food out in East London daily and bring it in where I'm paying £8 a square foot, where I'm paying 50, I maximize the cover, so I could get 220 seats in a space that was 4,000 square feet. It's kind of unheard of, and my kitchens were tiny.
It's super forward thinking for the moment, because obviously with satellite kitchens and delivery kitchens and stuff, it's now becoming more normalized. But this is sort of market leading at the time.
Well, it was, and no one was doing it that I know of anyway. But that was part one: how to maximize our income on a low revenue. We had to reduce the staffing so we could make our margins. So the idea of the pad where you could just order yourself was to take away the job from the waiter. But what we also saw happening is that customers ordered more because they'd just get a bit excited and tick away and order way more. And then people were nicking the pads. So that because there was a long queue, when they got in, they wanted to just eat as quickly as possible. So they were coming with these ready filled. So they just go, yeah, here's my order. But as soon as they sat down, so now we're turning tables even faster. With these 220 seats, I could do 1,500 people on a busy day. And so my business partner, and this is where we started to have a bit of a clash. He was running around London. We've got this great concept. It made 1.3 million profit in year one with one location. So it was like
that is like. You skim through that like that's some kind of normality. But for most restaurateurs that are listening to this, and anyone with experience in restaurants, particularly right now, like to do over $1 million EBITDA in year one is
I
like close to unheard
of. It was somewhat of a phenomenon.
Sensation.
And so with no reservations, I did various things to encourage the customer. Along the walls, we couldn't have a communal table, so we had tables of two. You couldn't book them. So what that would do is drive people that didn't want to sit at a communal table to get there earlier. Right. So the minute it turned 5 o'clock and offices were closed, we got busy because everyone was coming for those. And then once the queue was building, that was it, So I couldn't get into my own restaurant for so many times. So busy, like they think I'm queue jumping when I walked into my own restaurant, and I'd get it tailing off from the customers going, "Oh, there's a queue here!" Like, no, I work here. It's a problem when you stay too elusive that no one knows who you are. You can't get in your own restaurant.
So you're saying you had your business partner, and I think that's informed your view of business partnership and some things in terms of like relationship before business.
In the Nobu days, I had carte blanche. No one really ever questioned anything I did. I could do what I wanted because I was producing results, I guess, and everyone sort of let me do my thing. But suddenly now I've got a shareholder that was never content, wasn't happy with the 1.3 million profit a year, and we're not moving fast enough. We're not doing enough. There's all this sort of stuff. So everything was handmade, and we were. If you were doing 1,500 people in one day and the average person had 12 dumplings, do the math, times that, extrapolate that out over a month. We're making hundreds of thousands of these things by hand a month. And it started to be somewhat of a problem for us.
Anyone knows dim sum. Dim sum is by hand.
Yeah. Like and there was no machine in those days.
By hand, it's...
Yeah. And that our success became somewhat of a hindrance for us because now we're at factories working 24 hours and we're having to employ people that work overnight, so 3 8-hour shifts. And we was some days like still making the dumpling, like, okay, go, get it there and just in time for service. So there's none of this making in advance and freezing it was made and shipped. And it was a good problem to have. I still had great aspirations for the brand I wanted to get into supermarkets where if there wasn't need for or the commercial sense to have a location in those towns, you could get the product in the supermarket,
which is happening now, right? With
now every brand's doing
other brands,
and we got approached very quickly to do it, but then they wanted us to spend £1 million odd on our central kitchen, and they wouldn't bind in for any period of time. And so we'd invest all this money. And in truth, I think it would have worked, but it was a scary decision to make. And my business partner, he goes like, no, let's just focus on that. But it was always my intention to get into supermarkets, to really reach all the four corners of the country. But that didn't happen. That's fine.
That was your where your growth mind was for the business. Just you leverage the supermarket side of the product side, but keep the restaurants very kind of, like you say, like, you know, grade A sites, and, you know, very focused on kind of experience and quality.
Yeah. And that was super important to me. And one of the solution was to outsource the production, which is something that I couldn't stand by. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And
so it's a really tough period for you, getting like at the end of your time at Ping Pong. I mean, you've done loads of stuff, but this is like your first, you know, baby that you're now exiting. You've exited at the age of...
Yeah, I was 35 then.
35. You've done quite well out the exit.
Yeah, I got some cash.
You got a little bit of dosh. What did you do with it?
Well, I thought I had enough to retire. And I also considered I'd been working since I was 14.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you know me, I was working all the time. I mean, every day of the week I'm in the business, and that's what it takes. And I was doing that for Nobu because I felt I had to apply myself more, because I didn't feel like I truly had the ability. So to compensate for my lack of experience, I threw more hours into each day and lived in the business that's how I compensated.
I can't say how true of hospitality in general. I can't tell you how true a story that is. I can relate to myself, to others in hospitality, where, you know, maybe didn't do so well at school and just felt like, do you know what I can do is I can outwork anyone.
That's exactly what my intention was, and I was highly competitive on that front. And I had to do everything better and faster and sooner. And you know, Nobu would, you know, I remember one lunchtime we were having a beer together, and he goes, you know, and we're drinking out of a tall half pint glass. Is in Japan, it would be one beer between two of us, and we'd have a really small glass. And he goes, and that should be how it's done. I was like, okay. He went up to his room. We came back down for dinner. Should I like a beer? No, but I was dying to show him I'd already done it, you know. So he goes, yeah. And I get out these small glasses and one bottle of beer. He's like, what's this? And I play stupid. I go, I thought you said you wanted that. And he goes, yeah, but how did you do it so fast? I was like, oh no, you want it, you get it. And that was kind of my principle. So Nobu
this
then
is the key attribute.
Giving me more. Kurt, can you do? Kurt, can you do?
This is it, yeah.
And that's how I grew, because I did. I did it fast, and I did what he wanted. And I defended him like a warrior to make sure his brand was protected from his partners. And that kind of became my role as well.
Great restaurant people are brilliant at getting shit done.
Yeah.
So you've come out of Ping Pong. You've done pretty well. What are we now, 2007?
Yeah, 2008. And then I got approached by a guy, James Robson, who now has Fallow, the brand, which is doing really well.
Yeah.
So he runs some bars, and we had a relationship in Nobu. We used to use his venue for events and for our staff parties, and we used to do stuff in exchange. So I got to know him a bit like that. And I have to say, when he had this opportunity, he managed to raise money, 20 different partners, all putting in a couple of 100,000 each to open Muse, but he had little to no food experience. So he called me up, and I got involved with that project, and I sort of created the menu and the food and the PDRs and did all that stuff with him. It was a short-lived, because for various reasons. It was for me, I mean, it was a great place, but all these 20 partners, that was their playground, and it just wasn't what I wanted. So it wasn't long-lived, but it did well. It lasted, you know, nearly 20 years, I think. And they slowly acquired all of Lancashire Court. They took the pizzeria out. And I think now that whole thing during COVID, sort of like a lot of places, you know, it sort of saw its end. But that was what I did then. And then I had this idea still to do, from my experience in Shanghai, before even opening Ping Pong, I had a meal in a restaurant called Ceviche, and it was described as Nikkei cuisine. And I remember thinking, I don't know what Nikkei cuisine is. Having worked at Nobu, had no idea what that was.
Yeah.
He used to say, this is my food from my travels, never heard the word Nikkei. So I went there, had this experience. I was like, now it all makes sense. And I thought, you know what? I want to bring this to the world before I'd even opened Ping Pong. So when the time came around, and I had the experience of a single partner, where I had a lot of influence, I thought, you know what I'll do is I'm going to raise money from a syndicate, you know. So I'm going to bring in 6 investors that bring in $500,000 each, and I'll have a majority equity compared to any individual. but no one person will have more than me, because I just didn't want to have the lack of control that I felt I had at ping pong, and everything was a fight, and I didn't enjoy fighting all the time. And if I fought hard enough, I could get what I wanted.
But you didn't want that friction.
I didn't want it, man. I'm not that person. If you know me, I'm not aggressive. I don't like confrontation. I want everyone to work harmoniously and everyone to be in a positive state of mind and enjoy what they do. And that wasn't what I was feeling in my own company, which was a little bit shame. And I'm not here to, it's just, relationships. And the way he worked, he got the best out of people. He certainly got great shit out of me. And in those 2 years, we opened 8 restaurants. I didn't sleep, I think, for 2 years.
I bet you didn't.
Think about it. Like, I left Nobu. Within 4 or 5 months, we opened our first restaurant. I mean, and then within that first year, I'd already opened number 2. And in year 2, I opened 6 more. Just think about opening 6 restaurants from scratch. Actually, I had no employees. I left. I was like, right, I need to start, get a site and build a team. That was really fun. And he pushed
go.
The way he would in the financial industry. But the difference was in the investment world is that all his staff would sleep on the floor. It's great. At the end of the year, they had a £2 million paycheck.
Yeah, the bonuses are pretty decent.
Dollars.
Yeah.
But, our staff, you push them that hard, they just go to the next place. So it was a hard balance of trying to create the world and environment that I wanted, and seeing the people that followed me into this project, working like pigs, and I was really trying to protect them as much as anything. It was a case where I just felt like I couldn't go on any longer. And fortunately, I had a lot of investment bankers that were sort of reaching out to me going, look, we'd like to
because of what you'd achieved,
Yeah. So I said, look, there might be an opportunity where we can buy my partner out. He was an 80% shareholder. I was 20. So we sort of worked on a valuation. I said to him, look, let me buy you out. No. He saw what it was. There's no way he was going to go anywhere. So based on this valuation, I sold out, and it wasn't really what I wanted, but I couldn't continue either. So part of me is like, that's a lot of money. That's a bit greedy. But, the truth is, 35 years old, what's the first thing an idiot does when they get money? They spend it, right? I bought the Corvette Z06 had just come out. I bought the Shelby Cobra for myself. We get a farm with bloody 18 stables and 10 acres of land. And, so now money's just
you did
hemorrhaging.
It all.
We're doing the first class flights, 5-star hotel. I was doing that before, but the first time I'm paying for it, that's kind of
it's
hard.
coming out of your bank account, right?
And I was like, I better. And then I'm sort of in the middle of this field. I've mentioned this before, where I just stopped the tractor and I had to buy a new tractor that had pollen filters because I get hay fever.
I absolutely love the idea of you driving a Corvette or a Ferrari and a tractor. I love that.
I woke up every morning with no purpose, and that was the weirdest thing. Is like, well, what am I going to do today? I wasn't planning. Normally I had to plan and think about what the next day would hold, but none of that existed anymore. And it was kind of nice for a period, but 6 months in, it's like I felt like I was going to be forgotten. I thought, if I'm going to raise money, I got to do it while it's still quite fresh and ping pong's still trading well. Yeah. And so I decided at that point, right, I'm going to use this money that I've got to create the next brand, which was a form of Chotto, to be honest, but it transpired to be something completely different in the end.
I've not heard you say that. I just wanted this little French bistro. And I just wanted it to be, the same guy or girl greets you, white tablecloth, just this little 20-seat place. That you are creating brands.
To make money, it's very hard to have one restaurant and be able to think about retiring. You're going to work that room, you're going to work that door, and you're going to be there till the day you die, probably, is the way I see it, unless it's super successful. But then when it's super successful, what happens is you get approached by everyone around the world, and certainly in the UK, it's a great incubator city for building these brands to then take elsewhere. It's changing somewhat. I'm seeing that coming now from Dubai and the like. But, in my day, if something worked, you could build it into something. And I didn't start off thinking I'm building a brand. I was starting off building an experience, an offering, and the brand follows. If it's successful, the brand becomes known and it becomes the brand.
So do you start very much thinking about it as a singular entity?
Yeah, I think about something that
building it out from there.
Yeah, so it's about what is the offer, what is the experience, what's the design, what's the unique selling point, and why does it fit into this market? I look at always, what's lacking. I don't want to do anything that anyone's done before. At least that's what I believe I do. But there has to be scalability, and it has to work in more than one city. So does it exist elsewhere as well? And certainly, before ping pong had opened, for example, you couldn't get dim sum every day of the week, all day long. It didn't exist. But shortly after the success of ping pong, I noticed that all these neon signs started appearing around Chinatown saying dim sum all day. That didn't happen before. So really, and I was where was I just recently? In Brussels.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing dim sum all day in Brussels. And, I can't help but think
Yeah,
that
it's
somehow
spread
that's
across
the
the
back
globe.
of what ping pong, bringing that to market, did.
These stories incredible. We're going to take a really quick break just to dig into some of your dishes, right, from Chotto.
Yeah, I thought, well, we can't have a title like dig in and not dig in.
And
so
not actually
that's
dig
what we're
in.
going
So
to do.
yeah,
It's
we're
going to be the new format that you're going to have to adopt.
Coming up on Dig In, what's it really like to expand the restaurant concept worldwide?
I don't want to say corruption, but we're getting sort of blackmailed to get over the line. Call me back when that's done and I'll look at the rest. You're like,
So you can't be fooled.
please, just look at everything.
Yeah.
No. And this was going on and on. I thought, they're trying to sabotage us. I just couldn't work out what's going on.
And Kurt shares a brutal and honest reality check for hospitality in 2026.
So what are the rates here? Like, rates?
Rates, what is it?
What's the tax? Oh, it's like 1%. And you're like, top here, it's 50% of your rent. You're paying $700,000, another $350 in rates.
It's so
what do you
tough
get
to
for
work
that?
out, to work
It's
out.
disgusting.
Whoa.
Wunderbar. So,
What do we have here?
yeah, this is a new interpretation. So there's none of these that I recognize as the way we do it. I've asked Cater just to do something of his
Okay.
own. When you come, I would say, if you've never been, eat off the menu. If you come all the time, find Cater, get him to do this. And this is what I do all the time.
So does he do like dish development, but also training around the Greek week?
Yeah.
around the
So
world?
whenever we have a new opening, he'll come and bed inside the team and get them all set up. So, for example, the last restaurant in Manchester we just opened, he was there for the month before and a month after. But we also hire a head sushi chef who will come and train one of our restaurants. And then we just go and support him into the role.
That's one of your big things is you like to hire way ahead of time, indoctrinate them into your culture, ethos. Like that's one of your big red lines, right?
Every time we don't do that, sometimes it's because we just haven't been able to find the person. It's very late in the game. Never works out. They really have to have shown. And so what I need to see with any manager that I would employ front of house is that they can run the door on a busy night and the floor and just have control of the whole business. We need to see that. And even if you come to Soho, maybe San Francisco, you'll get it, but Manchester's a beast. I mean, we do 1,000 people there on a busy day.
It's booming Manchester, isn't it? I know like Hawksmoor, absolutely booming in Manchester.
Yeah.
And that's an incredible building and you're doing really well there as well.
Yeah, but I think now it's got to the point is that someone new comes in, they're taking away from someone else. It's not like there's an abundance. That may change because there's a lot of construction there. There's, I don't know, every street corner seems to have a residential building going up. So it's only going to improve. But I have noticed like we're humming and I might go, it's 11:30 at night. I'm going home and the place is bursting at the seams. And I walk past a few of competitors, let's say, and I'm seeing them mopping down and putting the chairs up on end. So, I feel for that. That's concerning to me because how long will we retain this? So that's really important.
Yeah.
And, the site itself is going to do well just for having this phenomenal rooftop and view over Manchester, which is why now, to help the business, you've got to really choose locations above, I think, anything else. I used to think that you could take any location, like Soho is a good example of that. People will come. Soho, the heart of the West End, the heart of London. But Soho's changed, and people want to go up, which I never saw before happening. I always thought it was a bad idea to take a rooftop, but if you're a rooftop, you almost can guarantee success. So, yeah, there are challenges, but we have that advantage in Manchester.
So you touched on a little bit there about kind of sustaining that. How are you sustaining its success? Its continued development. You're opening. You've got, we'll talk about it in a minute, but you've got openings around the world. Like, what's important to you in sustaining that?
When we opened, the second restaurant we opened was Miami, which was strategic to get recognition across all of America because it's a national location for vacations. So you're going to get people from New York and all over going to Miami at some point. It's part of the rite of passage, I think, to spend a holiday in Miami. So it gave us great exposure. The other area that works well like that is Vegas, but hard to get into Vegas. And Vegas, they want to see proof of concept in America already.
How'd you get into Miami?
Well, I was just fortunate. Someone I knew knew about a location. We were already looking, and this site came up, and we managed to make the deal. And we didn't go in and franchise there. We actually invested ourselves.
Right.
We had the hard learning of what it's like to do business in America. I thought it'd be an easy thing. I thought, in America, things will get done like that. Oh, my God.
Because that's the narrative a lot that we get over here is that we're really difficult. And
I'm telling you, really think twice about going to America. You can make great money when you get through the painstaking two to 3 years it takes to open a restaurant. We had a 10-year lease in Miami, and actually only got to trade for nearly 7 of those if you take COVID into consideration. So you've got a 7-year window to get your money back, which happened. 3 years, 30% of the lease was all about getting it open.
Yeah.
The rent free went out
Oh my
very
God.
quickly. We thought 6 months. In the UK, that's decent.
Yeah.
We'll get it open. Hopefully, we'll get a month in the pocket. But no, not America. We had 3 years before the place finally opened, just because of planning, regulations, the process. It was really tough.
Did that inform, because you have Chotto Matte in San Francisco, you've got this amazing rooftop location. Is it one of the biggest in the city?
It's the biggest restaurant. Was not the intention. It was just the best site in the city, and also the biggest restaurant and biggest rooftop. It's biggest of everything. I mean, it's huge. It's 16,000 square feet. I mean,
Why do things with halves, eh?
yeah.
But is that the same? Is that a franchise, or is
No, we own that as well.
You
So
own that
North
as well?
America, Toronto, we own, and it's in countries where, like the Middle East, we wouldn't invest. We don't know, we just, uncertain about those territories. And the other area, the other point is, there's only so much we can finance. We're going to keep putting all our profits back into business and never see a return truly, because it's just going back in, which isn't a bad thing long term. But I think we're at the point where we've put a lot of money in. The brand is quite well established. There's a lot of interest. And I think franchising is a good way to continue to grow.
How are you managing those businesses in Toronto, San Francisco, even London, Manchester? You can't be in all those places.
No, well, truthfully,
you must have a team, right?
Yeah, no, so absolutely. And it's all about the people. I mean, the biggest problem that a lot of groups have as they grow is that they outflank their managerial capabilities. They're recruiting or promoting people that haven't got the ability to manage the business, to fill a hole so that they can grow the business, but they end up damaging. And I've witnessed that firsthand with other brands. And so our growth has been relatively slow in comparison to other brands. And it's all about, do we have the manpower? Can we be insured to make sure? And the manager becomes the owner. You're paying a guy to run the business like he owns it, and finding these people is tough. It's not easy. And then in terms of how you keep on top of it, it's about having the right ops or managing director or CEO. And fortunately, we've finally come across, and it's taken us this long to get someone who can truly get to grips with managing the business at the level that we're at. And a lot of the time you're upscaling and you're growing these teams that are just a burden on your head office. And then you become top heavy a little bit, and you're still not seeing any improvements. So we did a cleanup actually after COVID because we needed to. We were worried about what the future would present. How can we economize? And head office costs were pretty substantial. But what we sort of made a shift to doing is getting a really strong MD, Olivier Flamont, fantastic guy. He's worked with every brand under the sun, every country around the world. I don't think we could have found better. We're lucky and we're blessed.
Are there some consistent red lines through that you can that transcends different countries' cultures?
The biggest challenge, I think, like in terms of no-goes, like for me, the brand is me. It's my brand, and I feel I worry, and I've allowed people in the past to make changes because you know what? Maybe they have a better idea. And all these small, subtle changes that I've allowed to happen, actually, in hindsight, when you look at what's happened to the sales and the footfall, it's changed in a negative manner. Who fucking likes, sorry, sommeliers, but when I go out to a restaurant, I never trust a sommelier because he's never come to me and said, spend £10 less and you'll get a better wine. He does the opposite. If for £10 more, £20 more, that wine is way better. And you're thinking, well, now I feel like an idiot not to accept. What, am I not going to have the better wine? Or is it just as he, and I know because
they should be telling you
their
your
job
experience.
is to do what? Is to push the sales up. And I don't want to do that to the customer. But at the same time, if you don't know wine, how do you choose?
How do you choose?
So now it's a case of reinstating things that we started out doing from the outset. This latest menu, for example, the wine list is all my choices here. So I had to reset. I did the original menu when we first opened.
Yeah.
It lost its way and I went back and redid it all myself again. So I will keep these certain areas into control, and then I'll allow freedoms. Now, for example, if they want to do a happy hour promotion or if they want to do whatever they think it needs to be, I'm happy for them to come up with those ideas.
To give it a go.
Locally, yeah. And, and I'll give you an example. We used to do the jungle brunch in Toronto, and we were looking at, tortoises walking through the restaurant, a guy coming in with birds, wild animals in the restaurant. And we were like, what is this? Are we a zoo or are we a restaurant?
Is it too much?
and we were looking at it from what would work in Soho,
Yeah,
And in
right.
Soho, that wouldn't work. And, the guests are getting up and doing a conga through the restaurant. We're like, we've got to stop this. This isn't Chotto. But actually, when we killed it, no other brunch program worked. And all the guests were asking for it to come back. We brought it back and it worked. So when we realized we can't dictate out of London what will work in Toronto, it's a different mindset. So the local management have to play a heavy part in those
And you
sorts of
rely on
promotions.
them
Yeah.
to feedback and give you kind of
Absolutely.
scope and insight to what's working and what's not. And then you can use the data and numbers to kind of go, yeah, actually, guys, that really worked.
Yeah,
It's great.
exactly.
People loved it.
Just seeing a full brunch every weekend in Toronto when we struggled to do it with any other ideas, and that's hindsight for you once again. But our managing director is really data driven, and he looks at the numbers as much as he does the operation. He's an all round guy. He's really talented. But he says, like, food and offering, that's you, and that's a great compliment to me, because what he does, actually,
It's a great
I'm not
amount
that
of
good
trust.
with that crap.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It's not what I got into. I want to do the fun stuff. That's for me. Food, drink, concept, experience. That's art. Give it all to me. No problem. It's not even work. But what he also does, like Olivier's particularly good, and talking about relevance and keeping relevant. It's about adapting what our offering is and who we're offering it to as well, has been a major shift for us. So I was always opposed to locking up the restaurant for a private event, but now you need that. Those private events are what make restaurants survive now more than ever. The retail, as he defines it, I've never talked about it in that manner. The retail being the guests coming in for an experience.
Yeah.
That's fading dramatically in the market, because there are far fewer people out there with spare disposable income at the price level that we're at. So,
of course.
and there's a lot more competition. We 13 years ago had no competition. Now everyone's kind of doing something like what we're doing. So
you have quite a few different concepts that are kind of in all marketplaces now.
Yeah. And Nikkei Cuisine, I'm talking to the IHG group, and they're like, we've created our own Nikkei concept, and it's our own brand, and it's more popular than any other brand that they've created before. So there's still a lot of interest, but there's still a lot of people doing it. Yeah.
Building restaurants and running them is like notoriously difficult. There's so many cost centers.
Yeah.
And from rent to produce to supply chain stuff, like it's just so vast.
Yeah, and it is a moving target. I could have answered this question 10 years ago and said rent can't be more than 5 to 8%, labor can't be more than 30%, including NI.
Double that now.
And food costs not more than 30. Those were the sort of typical numbers for a restaurant of this caliber. Now we're looking at labor being closer to 40, and our food cost has to give, or else we're losing money. Rents are only going up, or costs are going up, and customers have got less to spend. So there is that challenge. So, we're looking all the time how we can make advantages that don't impact the experience, that don't impact the product, that don't impact the quality. And fortunately, what we're finding is, as we're growing, and we've now sort of merged with my business partner, who's a fantastic guy, William. He has other brands as well. And now we're realizing, actually, why aren't we using shared resources rather than having one HR for us, one HR for you? So we do things like that the customer or guests will never know, but we've made savings by doing things like that. And
like shared procurement and
procurement as well. Now, like, we have to all use the same water. It's silly not to. And so we work with one brand, and we get the benefit of the buying in mass. So there's elements like that, sharing resources as well, so we don't double up on labor, and that was part of our reset. And it meant that we can continue to make a profit without having to adjust too much what we're doing.
Such a smart workaround.
Well, yeah, and that's been the biggest drive, is like every time the government makes a new decision, and now we're working out what we got to cut.
How the hell do we get over this?
Yeah, and it's just getting harder. And I tell you, I feel for a lot of businesses, even for ourselves here in the UK, it's scary times. Really, it is. I've never seen it so bad in terms of demand and footfall. But then, just the cost of existing today is really tough. And fortunately, as I said, we find ways to bring in new revenue. And it's unfortunate as well that, the typical restaurant now has to really think about what sort of operating model it can survive under. Because, this event thing, we're now in new worlds, and we're now doing out catering and Super Bowl and San Francisco was great for us. We did a collab, being that it was in San Fran, so that brought in a huge chunk of money that sort of helped us a lot as a group. So having various locations, one restaurant that's really performing like mad in San Fran is like a healthy welcome.
I mean, this is one of the things that we're seeing as we talk to people.
Yeah, I don't know what the word is.
Is we're seeing that people are having, restaurants and restaurateurs are having to look at diversification more so than they have before, and just sticking with the same concepts and looking at that breadth of like, okay, maybe we're going to have to see if we can, sell our product into collabing with sports team or doing some kind of like to cope with all these things.
That's exactly it. Fortunately now we've just done a deal with Manchester United our partner there, our landlord, should I say, is Gary Neville. And through this now we're going to have all these footballers that are coming in on these packages that are going to eat in the restaurant. Now, we never had to do that touristy sort of thing before, but it's absolutely required now as part of our survival is to get these sorts of things going on. I think now the true restaurant that can make money without all those considerations has to limit what they're offering. But that's sad, because those experiences that require more attention and more staffing only become far and few between, unless everyone has suddenly got some income to spend, because it's going to cost to have that experience now.
Also, you have to the longevity of those type of concepts, because you just mentioned like burger, pizza. It's just, if you're doing a very limited menu, there's something still really beautiful about coming to a restaurant, sitting down with an a la carte menu and exploring. It's about exploration. And I think it'd be really sad if we get to the point in this country where we're forcing restaurateurs to go down to 3 starters, 3 mains and 1 dessert choice. It would be so sad to see
today is my biggest pressure. If we want to do any more sort of economizing, it'll be to reduce the size of the menu. And how do you take off dishes that have been enjoyed for 13 years and have become staples on our menu? It's really hard to do.
And
I
just can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah.
How do you franchise that model, and how does that look and feel? And you've done such a good job in keeping it part of the brand.
Probably the most struggle we had with any restaurant was in Miami. Just getting someone. It was a very busy restaurant. It was a big party place.
Yeah.
The managers started to become the party and, using the space like it was their own. And we found it like a real challenge getting someone who could really look after that place. And then what we found is that when we did our first franchise, now suddenly all the money that's been invested is invested by the partner who owns the franchise, who's going to either, we're either going to manage it for them or they're going to manage it themselves. But they've got everything to lose. We lose, of course, if it doesn't trade well, our reputation, our brand, that we're also very protective of. But what we found is that a manager takes a salary and it's a bit hit and miss whether he's going to really run with the brand. And if it doesn't it doesn't do well and he fails, he gets another job tomorrow and the restaurant either is there or not. It's no skin off his nose, really.
You mentioned you're offering, you do work with 2 different models. You've got a managed model and then a non-managed model.
Wholly owned and run. Yeah. Then there's the franchise or the manchise, where we then would manchise. Sort of, I don't know if that's a real term, but we call it that.
Well, let's coin it here right now. Manchise. Yeah. The biggest lesson that you learned that maybe you didn't realize was a lesson at the time, but even you said you're great at hindsight, but like in hindsight, you're going, God, thank God I learned that.
I don't think I'm an egotistical person. I don't, but I think maybe my ego did get ahead of me, and I would put it back to when I opened a restaurant called Bouillabaisse on Mill Street. I think it was a great concept. My business partner had just come back from America, went to I couldn't tell you the name, but it was like a shack that did seafood. And I go, yeah, let's do that. That sounds like a great idea, but I'm going to make it like a Ralph Lauren sort of beach whitewashed place. I've got these ideas and I'm going to do the best seafood from all of my travels. So we did this extensive trip to Greece, to Mykonos, to France, to Barcelona. So I took Jordan on this seafood tour of the world, and we just collected from Venice this dish, from that dish, and it was all this great stuff. But all the love and passion went into the development, but maybe I think I was too complacent to think I just have to open restaurants and they're going to work, and they're going to, because that's
kill it.
Started to that's what was happening. I was opening them and they were working, and we were putting all of our effort in it. But it's the first time that I didn't lose sleep on a restaurant. Like even with Chotto's, I lose sleep for months leading up to it, have to see them open, lose sleep while they're open. But this one, I just sort of thought, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And I didn't stress about it as much. And probably, I don't know if it's true, but I probably didn't see. I don't know. I didn't apply myself. Maybe I don't know. I was too comfortable. I became complacent. Maybe my ego got in the way, thinking it would just work. And it's the first time a restaurant didn't for me. So it was a real shock.
Is that in the ping pong era? While you were
No,
doing
that was
that?
Chotto. So we were going to diversify away from just being Chotto. We wanted multiple brands. And I think that was also a mistake. It just distracted us too much. And we got to think about Valentine's Day menu for 3 brands, 3 different cuisines and 4, But my point was, it was the first time I just thought it was going to work. I never did before. I always thought, maybe it's not going to work. And this one, I just thought it's going to work, and it didn't. And when I asked everyone why they didn't come, the name, it was called Bouillabaisse. And they're like, oh, I didn't want French cuisine. I was like, it's not French. So didn't really think about the word name too much, what impression it gave. And it was really, I was going to bring the Bouillabaisse back.
Like in hindsight, do you think you gave it like that full like thought process, love?
I don't know. The only thing is, I feel like I did everything the same, but I just didn't lose sleep over that one. And that's the thing, that I didn't stress about it. And when I stress about it, I think about it more.
Yeah.
And I go to sleep dreaming about it. And I didn't have all of that on this one. So you lie in bed at night going, oh my God, I forgot this. Or, oh my God, I didn't do that. I was sleeping quite well. It's weird, and I can only say I was a bit complacent, like, maybe. Cool. Like I don't know, I can't put it in words, probably, but that one I just didn't think it would fail.
So what did it teach you?
That's the first time I've ever thought that way about a brand or a business or a restaurant.
But so what did it teach you then?
It's like you've got to fight from day one. You've got to assume it's going to fail, and you've got to do everything to prevent it from failing. And that means like really. What we do now, for example, we promote and we start working on sales and marketing 6 months before the restaurant's even open.
Wow, 6 months.
And probably we didn't do that there. We just thought we just have to open the doors and it'll work. And that's what happened at Ping Pong, in fairness. I lost a lot of sleep, didn't get any PR in. I didn't have a marketing company. There was no such thing as social media. And we just opened the doors quietly and it worked. So I lost a lot of sleep, and it was a hard thing, but I didn't have that panic. And the only one I didn't panic about is the one that failed. So maybe there's something in that, the worry. And so now I'm never sure it's going to
work.
Like
having kids.
And it just ensures it does.
Yeah. So Kurt, this is our quick fire.
Yep.
We're just doing a little quick fire round with you. First question, chefs or restaurateurs you currently admire?
Jean-Georges von Richten is probably for me. He may not even know this. I used to know him, I wouldn't say greatly, but we've bumped shoulders many a time. But I love his respect of ingredients and the way he uses them, and the fact that they're the best they can be. And any time I go to any city, if there's a Jean-Georges restaurant, I'm there.
A motto or mantra that you live by?
Well, I hate to say it because Nike did it, but the whole Nike thing, just do it.
Yeah,
I don't want the excuses. Just do it. Work it out. I like
the other
one,
like get shit done.
Get shit done. Yeah.
One metric you watch every day.
Sales. I've got to see the sales. Every restaurant, I get the thing to my phone. It's all in email, and all I want to see is top line. There's a whole report, the sales, and it tells me how I'm going to feel for the rest of the day.
Fair enough. One trend you think is overrated?
Fried fucking chicken.
Hey, careful! There's a chicken place called David's Chicken, and
I
it's
know
got my name against there.
But that stuff, deep fried seed oils, nasty, unhealthy. I get it, man. Who doesn't like a bit of fried chicken? But there's just too many. Popeyes is popping up everywhere.
Literally, popping up everywhere. Yeah. So one trend that you think is the future?
There's a movement right now in Australia. It's probably been going a long time, but I'm seeing it like with clear vision now, is that everyone's, certainly around Bondi, it's all about healthy. I look at the brunches. I look at what Bill Granger's did in the UK. It's kind of, that's all over Australia. And I think there will be more of that coming. And I as much as I say the young generation, that's one side, but there's another side that aren't drinking and they're being healthy. And I think health-focused food and sustainability are not going to be things that fade away, and they're only going to be more important as we move forwards. But I think a true understanding of what good food is, I think we've been all misled for a very long time. And we talk about the pyramid you see in South Park. It's something that I've always believed for a long time.
The upside down pyramid in South Park is brilliant. It's genius.
And I think there's a re-education that's required. And then I think to survive in the economies that are, currently suffering, it's got to be single item or very few item menus that are going to be health driven as well.
One cost that kills restaurants.
Can we say tax? Is that a tax? No, but
you can say tax if you like. You wouldn't be wrong right now.
Everything they're doing from rates. I remember the rate hike that happened because of HS2. You guys are going to benefit from this, but you're going to pay for it. So we're all paying more rates. And where's this bloody HS2 and all these extra customers and guests? They're not there. we're all paying the rates. And those rates, by the way, even when they've finished building that thing, if they ever do,
I think
they're not going to go back.
Not they
you
canned
know?
most of it,
So
part of it.
It's painful, whenever we go anywhere else in the world, I'm like, so what are the rates here? And like, rates?
Rates, what is it?
What's the tax? Oh, it's like 1%. And you're like, okay, so the rent is the rent and there's nothing major strapped on top. Here, it's 50% of your rent. You're paying $700,000, another $350 in rates.
It's so
what do you
tough
get
to
for
work
that?
out, to work
It's
out.
disgusting.
Okay, so the one thing about restaurant culture that you won't have in your business.
I make a very strong point when we're building new teams that, we all work together and we all have a part to play and no one person is more important than the other. But it's, been my experience working in other restaurants when I wasn't running them, that, you could have some really nasty individuals in this industry that would be abusive and treat you really badly because they were your senior.
Yeah.
And I always vowed when the day comes that I have some management or control, that I'd never be that person. And the way that I describe it is that, why does it change that when you're in a team, I can say, hey, you, go and get this. And no, please, no, thank you. And abrupt and abuse.
Yeah.
Like the tone of voice is bad. And so my example is, okay, now I want you to think of all your colleagues as a stranger in the public. Your car's broken down. You need to jump from someone's car. You're not going to say, hey, you bring your car here. I need your battery.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's just, I won't tolerate with any abusive management or staff behavior. I just don't think it's necessary, and it's not the environment that I want to create.
So we're working in high stress environments, and it is easy to let something slip out the way that you don't mean, but you can rectify that with going like, hey, thanks, can you just grab that for me? You can rectify most situations, and adding please and thank yous goes a long way.
It's just, and I think a lot of the time it's like management don't appreciate when you've worked in every section. You've seen managers that don't know what they're doing because you're running a section, you've got like 12 tables, an average of 3 on each. So you've got 30 plus customers, guests sitting in front of you, and you're trying to manage that section on your own. And the manager will come over and then just lay a whole lot of shit on you.
Yeah.
It's like, do you have any fucking clue what I'm going through right now?
They're literally trying to hold it together.
What you need me to do for you because you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to mess up my whole section, So it's about understanding the pressure that everyone's under and treating people with respect.
Good. Thank you so much. One, for your hospitality, amazing food. Thank you so much for having us here in Chotto Matte in Soho. We really enjoyed the conversation, and I feel like we could do a part 2 and a part 3.
There were a whole bunch of things I didn't even get to bring up, but
yeah,
the truth is, I've had a bit of a conversation with you before this, and I think someone needs to interview you at some point because your story's very fascinating as well.
Thanks, man.
I was inspired by some of the stuff you were telling me. So someday we're going to get you on the other side of the microphone.
We'll flip to reverse.
I'll interview you.
Yeah, I love that. No, that's awesome. Thank you so much, man.
My pleasure, my man. Good
Thanks
to see
so
you.
much. I appreciate it.